Delay your gratification. Work hard and smart right now so 5 years from now you can be doing whatever the heck you want all the time. So this here is my analytical approach to finding a service that has an opportunity and getting started. So we're going to start by making a list of 10 services that you think you could provide. So on my website, sweatystartup.com, I have a list of about 200 businesses that I love. It's titled Businesses That I Love, and it's right on the sidebar. They all meet the criteria that we're about to talk about. Check these out if you need some help coming up with ideas, but don't be afraid at all to stray away from this, get even more specialized or more unique or whatever you think. So let's first talk about the criteria. We want to make sure that all services on this list are becoming more popular. More and more customers are coming onto the market every day, every month. Luckily, this is the case for most services. They make up about 80% of the US economy, and it's growing all the time. People are outsourcing more, and more stuff is getting done by companies and less stuff is getting done by the actual people. So ideally, you want to find a service that you could build your business around only new customers and still thrive. You don't need to take customers away from your competitors to build a successful company. That sets you up for success. Now remember how we talked about 20 years ago, only 5% of people paid to have their lawn mowed, and now 40% of people do. That number's growing every single day. You wouldn't need to steal a single new customer to make your way in that space. Lawn care is just one example. A restaurant would fail this test on the other hand, because more and more people aren't necessarily eating at restaurants in your town every day. So we got lucky here with our storage business. Our storage business thrives at colleges where international students are there. So if the more international, the more out-of-state students there are, the better for us. We launched in 2011, and it coincided with a huge shift with American universities bringing in more international students and more students traveling from out-of-state to go to school, a lot more. So one reason for this was that the US dollar was weak against the Chinese yuan and other foreign currencies. So a US education was cheaper. Okay, it was about 25% cheaper for a Chinese student to come to an American college because of the currency exchange. At the same time, American universities were reeling from the financial crisis, so their endowments took a huge hit. So they needed to accept more international and out-of-state students who would be paying more tuition. They needed to make more money. They started to do it. This was the perfect storm for our potential customers. The 2018 incoming class of Cornell had nearly 2,000 more international students than the class of 2009. That's 2,000 more customers on the market than there were 10 years ago before we started. We built a successful business without taking a single customer away from our largest competitor. It was a win-win for everyone. It was not a race to the bottom. We weren't fighting for the same customers. So if you can find a business that does this, that's great. On the other side of it, let's look at brick and mortar retail. Let's say you're interested in setting up a store and selling something. The trends are the opposite. Every year people buy 5 to 10% more stuff online and less stuff in a store. It's a dogfight to keep customers, and businesses are fighting each other for every customer. That's not a good market to be in. So as you develop your business ideas, look at the statistics. Get the data you need to analyze the total spending in your area or in your region or in your state or whatever you can get your hands on as compared to the total population growth of people that are coming to your area. You can dive deeper and analyze industry data for your specific type of services. It's all out there. So are people spending more on what you're going to offer each year? Are there enough companies to service the existing population? Think about those things. So the next question to consider while you're making this list is what's unique about your town. If you are in a college town, you can design services towards students that are underserved. You can use other college towns as a mold and look at what they offer their students and what maybe isn't in your town. So maybe you live in Daytona Beach, Florida, or another vacation town, and all the traditional vacation rental companies are getting disrupted by Airbnb, and now it's much easier to manage them and create your investment properties on your own. So maybe you live in Washington, D.C., and it has a ton of traveling politicians, and there's some new stuff going on, and you can find some new technology that's already out there that you can create a business around. Maybe your town is NYC, and there's no space for anything, and you're going to find a way to help people save space. Think about your town. Think about things you can do. So the next question is to consider how future change will affect the economy in your city. Change is good. Change means new customers. 60 years ago, you wouldn't want to invest in the automotive industry in Detroit. It was dying, okay? It died over that time. So change means new opportunity. Change means new services. Change means current businesses may die. You need to look at this stuff and start to think about how it's going to affect your city. So you need to think about what's unique about your skill set. If you're tech savvy and you're really good at digital marketing, that transfers well to almost any service business. So, I talk a lot of crap about tech startups and app development and web development, I think it's super competitive. I think it's super saturated. It's getting cheaper every day. But if you have that background, you are going to be at such a huge advantage in the service industry. So, think about how digital marketing affects your current business. So build your list with these things in mind, but don't let them limit you. So think about how much capital you have. How are you going to acquire equipment in a low risk way? So get creative about how you get a hold of your equipment temporarily while testing the waters. How long can you live on your savings? What's your current debt? How long can you survive before profitability? A lot of times you can start these companies while you have a job, and that's the best way to do it if you can do that. So working a current job, it covers your expenses. You can make the decision to quit that job when it makes sense and it's very low risk. So a quick review of the questions to ask. Is this industry or service growing in popularity? The next one, what's unique about my city or town? The next one, how will future change affect my city or town? What is unique about my skill set? And how much capital do I need? And how long can I survive before profitability? And how can I limit my financial risk? So we're going to make the list of 10 companies based on those questions. So now we're going to make the list of companies that we could enter the market with, 10 specific services. So the first 5 on your list should be common services where there's a huge customer pool and a relatively low barrier to entry as far as skill goes, and maybe money as well. So the next 3, so you got 5 low skilled, low barrier to entry, very common companies. The next 3, specialty niche services where only a few companies service the population in your town, but the customer pool is still relatively large, or there's enough out there to get your piece of the pie. So the last 2 should be high skilled services that are in high demand and they're undersupplied. The barriers to entry here are higher. It takes time to get certified. You maybe need some equipment. You need to learn a lot. You need to get a skill. You need some working capital. So let's start with a list of 5 common low skilled services. For example, here we have lawn care, landscaping, herbicide application, maid services, pest control, off-premise bartending, mobile car detailing, mobile oil changing, pressure washing, seal coating, deck staining, gutter cleaning, event DJing, mobile beauty services. Okay, there's hundreds here. So people sometimes get turned off on these spaces because they say they can be commoditized. They say customers only care about price. They say anybody and their brother could advertise on Craigslist and get into this business. It's a race to the bottom. If you do this right, this is simply not the case. There are always customers out there willing to pay extra for quality service provided by a reputable company. A company with systems, a company with approachable people, a company that's reliable, a company that you feel comfortable with letting in your home or in your business to provide a service. There are many ways to set yourself apart and build a company that doesn't compete on price. The big one and my favorite one is building a company that's responsive and quick to offer the service. Get as close to on demand as possible and you'll be able to charge whatever you want for your service. There's an entire episode on this. It's called How to Never Compete on Price Again. I suggest you listen to that. So just because you're in the space with low barriers to entry doesn't mean it's a commodity. People complain about this. They're not implementing the principles that we discuss in this podcast. These low-cost, low barriers to entry services are often the best places to start if you don't have very much money, if you don't have very much experience, and you're looking to do it on a part-time basis. You can get the ball rolling while you're working a job. You don't have to take a lot of risk, and there's a lot of customers out there for you to get. So the next 3 ideas on your list of 10 should be specialty niche services that only a few companies do, but the customers are still out there for you. So here's my list of examples here, and you're going to pick 3 of these. So I'm talking about beer line cleaning, or restaurant floor scrubbing, mobile pet grooming, home office build and design, closet build outs, mailbox installation, hot tub services, slushy machine repair, Christmas light or holiday light on demand setups. Okay, so these are very, very specialized. If you live in a huge city, there's still thousands of people that need this, but it's not something that you see every day. The opportunities here are even better if you have the ability to get into these markets. These are areas where only a handful of companies dominate. Maybe one company dominates. Maybe there's not even a service out there yet, but someone's doing it really well and making a great business out of it in another city. So remember, you don't need to try to service everyone. You can build a great business being very specialized and only servicing 50 customers a month or 1,000 customers a year. So the larger your city, the more specialized you can get. And in New York City, you can make a scalable business off something as crazy as mobile guitar tuning or restraining or something like that. That's just off the top of my head. So in this space, think that if you're new to a town and you're looking for a company to do this, you're going to have a lot of trouble finding them online. You'd almost need a reference. A lot of these businesses spread through word of mouth. The great thing here is that you can spot some serious holes in the market. So the last two businesses on your list should be high skilled services that are in high demand and they're undersupplied. The barriers to enter are higher. It takes time to learn the skill and to get certified. You need equipment and some money. So my examples here would be an electrician, an arborist, tree trimmer. I'm talking about niche carpentry, deck building, treehouse building, wine cellar building, anything that a custom carpenter would be able to build for you in your home or in your business. I'm talking about civil engineering, construction management, mobile car mechanics, an HVAC technician. So not all these are trades, not all these are licensed, but there's some skill involved. These are the best opportunities. There's been a massive shift away from labor-intensive professions as more millennials opt to study marketing or liberal arts and go sit in front of a computer. So I love this space because all of the business owners are business owners just to create a job for themselves and no more. There's no scalable companies that are nationwide that are offering this stuff. The people who own these businesses, they learned the skill in order to get a job, or they have the skill because it's what their father did or their mother did. Opportunities here are everywhere. There's not much digital marketing out there. Very few business principles are applied by the owners. They don't have sales teams. They don't have training systems. There's not much tech. A lot of them are operating as if it's 1980. So they don't have much at all in a lot of these places. I'm not saying there are not companies that are doing really well, but if you do your research and if you look for holes in the market, there are some big, big opportunities. So remember, when you're thinking about this one, that this is really a 5-year plan or even a 10-year plan. If you're 20 right now and you were asked if you were willing to work really hard for the next 10 years and then you would have a huge scalable business and retire and do whatever you want from 30 onward, would you take that deal? Absolutely. Lawyers go to school for 3 years and then they slave away for 90 hours a week for the next 40 years. And that's still what people love to do if they think about making money. So even then, you don't have the freedom. You don't have the ability to keep getting paid for the work you've done previously. If you build a business in these areas, you have that. It's a long game. If you play short-sighted and think about tomorrow or next year, you're never going to want to make the investment in any of these specialized things. So the longer you're willing to delay your gratification, the better. The longer you can live without huge profits or funding an expensive lifestyle, the healthier your business will be. Storage Squad took 3 years to make any profit at all and 5 years to allow us to really step back and hire some great people to help us run our company and automate some systems. So think this over, make your list of 10 businesses that you want to get after. So now that you have your list of targeted services, it's time to get to work studying them. So find the 3 companies that dominate the market on each of your 10 businesses. Google the services and note the top 3 most accessible companies out there. So for each company that you put on your list, you are going to study them in 3 areas: speed, accessibility and digital marketing, and pricing. So as far as speed goes, this is the most important factor. You're going to call each company that's doing this and you're going to act like a customer. How busy are they? How long would it take for you to get a quote and get service at your house or at your business? Ask a ton of questions about their business seasons, how many customers they service. You'll be so surprised at what you can learn from a customer service rep or an owner that is kind of chatty on the phone. Do some research on how fast and how busy they really are. How much customers do they have? So you'll find some that are booked out 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance. That's your opportunity. So on the next one, accessibility and digital marketing. How hard is it to find the companies? Are they buying AdWords, which is marketing online? Do they have any digital marketing at all? Do they have social media presences? Do they have online reviews? Do they have videos on YouTube? Is their business all word of mouth? So what is the quality of their customer service on the phone? Do they follow up with you? Do they try hard to get the sale? If the answer is to no to a lot of those questions, it's a good opportunity. Now you want to look at their pricing. How much are they charging for the service? Remember, we're not going to compete on price, but it's still very important to look at the pricing of the competitors before you decide to get into a market, because most customers will still want the lowest price. So an arborist might charge $800 to take a tree down that takes 2 guys 45 minutes. The margins are super high here, right? So you'll learn that when you study the pricing of these companies. If you find something that you can offer a better service, a faster service, and a cheaper service, that's the opportunity. So as you study each company, you're looking for signs that point toward holes in the markets. You're looking for signs that the service could be improved, that the price could be lowered, that the service could be offered faster with less lead time. You're looking for signs that the people who own these companies aren't doing a good job managing and running their business. You're going to find companies that still use the yellow pages as a viable marketing option, okay? So the last thing you need to think about is what it would take for you to get your slice of the pie. You don't need to dominate every company out there to take some business. You just need enough customers to get some momentum and grow a healthy company. The opportunities later, the next company, or 5 years from now, or whatever you decide to do next will be bigger and better. Don't be afraid to start small. So how will you acquire the customers? Are more and more of them coming onto the market every year? The answer is yes to that question. We already know that. Are people Googling companies to find providers? The answer is yes, and you need to be on the top of Google, find a way to do that. Do you know what type of people use your services? Do you know how much money they make? Do you know what neighborhood they live in? Do you know their political orientation? How much can you learn about these customers? That's where the guerrilla marketing comes in, the yard signs, the flyers, doing things that are creative online to get in front of these customers. So take notes, study, and whittle down your list. Rewrite your list. Walk around town looking for things that you can add to your list. Refine your ideas and shrink your list. Get it down to 2 or 3. Pick your favorite that has the most holes and the biggest opportunity and jump in. Jump in and create your website, create your Google Place, listen to the Tool Belt episode here, and get started for cheap and get out and start selling and offering your service. Another thing you can do is you can study the companies that do the exact same thing in a different city. There are many, it's very, very decentralized here. Some company might dominate New York City with a really, really good model, but nobody's doing it well in your city. You can study them, you can model your business off of them. It's a beautiful thing. Another thing is you want to build a pro forma in Excel or Google spreadsheets. This is a financial projection model. You're going to project your expenses on a monthly basis, month by month by month, out to 5 years. Spend a lot of time doing this and take into account all of your expenses. Project all of your revenue on a monthly basis for 5 years. So I know it's going to go out to 5 years, but it's going to change all the time. You're going to look at this every month. You're going to edit it. You're going to build 5 models for all the various levels of growth and momentum. One model for slow growth, one model for moderate growth, one model for fast growth. Okay, so what you're going to do what you're going to keep in mind while you're building these models is how, if things go really poorly, how are my finances going to look? If things go really well, how are my finances going to look? That's the power of the pro forma. I have a sample on my website if you want to look at that as well. So a few things to keep in mind. You're going to play the long game. It's a 5-year plan. Don't think about tomorrow or you're not going to end up taking the leap here. So another thing, don't let your emotions control your decisions. Don't chase a passion. This stuff needs to pencil out on paper for you to go into it and get done. So avoid the sunk cost fallacy. Okay, just because you've created a website and built a brand and worked a little bit on this, as soon as it's pointing towards not working out for you, pull the plug. Now, I'm not saying every time it gets a little hard, think about giving up. I'm saying analyze the big picture often and make sure you're making wise decisions. So another piece of advice, set measurable goals with timestamps attached. I'm going to get 5 customers by the end of this month. I'm going to put 100 yard signs out by next Friday. I will bring in $2,000 in revenue by January 31st. Measurable goals with timestamps. And these are going to be uncomfortable goals. These are going to push you. You're going to need to get out there and get very serious about the growth, the revenue. So double down and get momentum. If it's working, pull out if it's not working. So there's 1,000 reasons why you shouldn't start any given business on this list. Remember that. There's no such thing as a perfect home run opportunity. You don't want to find that. You want one with some challenges. You want to try to build a business that has some flaws because it keeps everyone else out of the game sitting on the sidelines. You can talk yourself out of anything. Nothing is going to come easy. You want it to be hard, okay? It comes down to making a leap and getting to work. Have focused intensity. Give up your hobbies and your relaxation and your Netflix for a short period while you really make this happen. Delay your gratification. Work hard and smart right now so 5 years from now you can be doing whatever the heck you want all the time. So if you haven't noticed, this is a lot of work. There's no shortcuts. It can take weeks, months, years. It's not fun to do this stuff. There's a pattern here. Winning is a lot of work. Do the things it takes to win. They're not fun, but put your head down and make it happen.